What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are here with the first injury report of the week, man. The practice report is here. It's the first one for over a week with us Lions fans, man. We're coming off a bye week, and now we're back. It is hashtag, let me see the hashtag, hashtag Steelers week, and we got the injury report. Plus, the Lions have some news. The Lions have claimed receiver Josh Reynolds from the Tennessee Titans today off of the waiver wire. So let's get it started.
Way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off, and we're going to stand up, and then it's going to take 2 more shots to knock us down. And on the way up, we're going to take your other kneecap, and we're going to get up, and then it's going to take 3 shots to get us down. And when we do, we're going to take another hunk out of you. Before long, we're going to be the last one standing.
Welcome, everybody, to the video. Glad you guys are here. And we got some Lions news. Plus, we have the first injury report. Now, this Lions news is a little awkward. All right, here's why it's a little awkward. Because I just uploaded a video. Probably, at the time you're seeing this, probably been a few hours. But for me, it was about 30 minutes to an hour before this news actually dropped from the Detroit Lions that we claimed this receiver. I uploaded the video. I didn't think the Lions were honestly going to claim him because Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell said they didn't talk about it. So I was like, yeah, they're probably not going to claim him. The guy out there that made a lot of sense. All right, he has a connection with Brad Holmes. He has a connection with Jared Goff in the past. Jared Goff has a lot of trust in this guy. Jared Goff likes him, which I heard later after I made the video when I listened to his media presser. He's like, oh, yeah, I like this guy, and I'm sure he'll be good wherever he is. So maybe that pushed the Lions over the edge. They're like, you know what, let's just go claim him. Let's do it. Because the Lions had first priority in the waivers, of course, because they were the worst record in the NFL. It was only $500,000. That's it. Now, I know that's a lot of money. Hold up, $500K. Okay, I'll take that. But it was only $500K in the NFL terms. That's not like anything. $500K to bring him in basically for the rest of the season. It's kind of like a rental. Yes, he's not under contract for the next couple of years or anything like that. But, of course, you could always just re-sign him. He signed to a 1-year, $1.75 million deal this season with the Titans before they traded for Julio. And since they've traded for Julio, his role is probably smaller than he initially thought it would be. He only has 10 receptions so far this season, but he's a former 4th-round pick, I believe back in 2017 off the top of my head. And yes, he does have that background with Jared Goff. And what I did is I made this video where I kind of dove into some of the film. I discussed him, things that I liked about him, things that I don't necessarily love about his game. But I didn't think the Lions were going to claim him. So I put it in the last video. And the Detroit Lions did claim him. Of course, the guy I don't think they're going to claim, they claim. So I changed the title of that last video. I don't exactly know what it's at right now. Heck, it could change it again. I don't know what it's at right now. But here's what I'm going to do. I don't want to just put the same video out multiple times and say the same things and bore the heck out of you guys if you've already seen the last video. Appreciate everybody that did check out my last video. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put that link to the last video in the comments. I'm going to pin that top of the comment section. So if you guys want to see me discuss this new receiver, dive in and take a look at some of the film, check out the last video. Now, it's not a normal, film video because I'm talking as if I don't think we're going to sign him, which is weird because we've already claimed him. I know, it's strange. But I also have the information in that video. So I'm just going to put that link down in the comment section below. Watch it knowing we did claim this receiver, the 6'3" receiver, 4.52 40-yard dash receiver, 2 receptions in 2020 on 81 targets. A guy that Jared Goff really trusts. He likes this guy. It gives us some size, gives us a red zone threat, and it's also a guy that could potentially help Amon-Ra St. Brown possibly stay in the slot. And I think this all ties together to a video that we did yesterday where we talked about this Lions offense and the outside receiver position. So I really think that you could connect the dots on all of this. But here's what I'm going to do. I know tomorrow's last second dose. So we're going to dive into all of this tomorrow. All right, I'm sure we will. So I'll get some clips ready. I'll have the film, and we can take a look at it together. You guys can skip ahead past where I talk about Melifanu and Corey Ballentine, or you can watch that part too. I mean, I appreciate it. You don't have to. But you can skip past that about 7 minutes in, and at that point, I'll start talking about this receiver that we have claimed. And I'm so excited because I didn't think the Lions would do it, but personally, I was like, yeah, I think this will work. I really, if this was me, I would do this. I would, because I could tell just from watching the film that Jared Goff trusted this guy. Simply watching the film. And then I hear him talk about him afterwards. I'm not even surprised that he says, I like this guy. Because I'm like, yeah, you could see it. You could literally see it watching you play with him. Go out to the comments, click that link, and you guys can check it out after you watch this video, though. Hold up. I'm going to start with some exciting news because, man, we already got some good news. The Lions are claiming receivers. We're getting healthy. Guys, if you wanted to know what it took to make me super pumped, the Lions, literally everything is happening right now. The dominoes are all falling to make me super excited. This is good. You see that smile? That's organic. You can't create this. This is just This is natural. Let's take a look at the Steelers side of the injury report first, then we'll slide over to the Lions and get to some of this great news. Taking a look at the Steelers side, I first want to say, before we get into any of this, that they held a walkthrough today. Apparently, practice was very short. It was lightened to the point where they just described it as a walkthrough. So these are technically projections. If a guy has full participation, that may not hold up tomorrow. It could go back to limited, or maybe they don't even practice tomorrow. So tomorrow's going to be a big day. Wednesday, remember, they played Monday Night Football. So for them, they're still kind of getting their bodies back because they played on Monday night. Just want to start off with the injury report, or not the injury report, the injury reserve IR on the bottom left, and just kind of fly through this real quick. Juju Smith-Schuster, all right, we all know the dancer, all right, we all know this guy. He is out for the season with an injury, so he will not play in this game. From what I've read, he's out for the season. He will not play. That's one of their top receivers there. He is on IR. Joshua Dobbs, one of their depth quarterbacks. Okay, I think Josh Dobbs was on our team, wasn't he? Yeah, Dobbs has been literally everywhere. So he's a quarterback, depth quarterback. We weren't probably going to see him anyway, but he is also on IR. Just sort of quick update there. To it, the defensive lineman, Carlos Davis, another defensive lineman, Tyson Alualu. Am I saying the guy's name right? Okay, this guy came in the first week of the season. He played a little, I think over 60% of the snaps on this defensive line, but now he is on IR. So we'll kind of all tie this together in a second. And you can see DeMarcus AC. That's a really cool way to spell DeMarcus. I'll say that. Now, let's take a look at this injury report, and we'll kind of tie it all together. Starting off the top, Ben Roethlisberger is dealing with a shoulder injury. He is listed with no participation. But before you start saying, oh, snap, he ain't playing this weekend, I wouldn't go that far yet, because again, it was a walkthrough, and plus he met with the media today. And from what I've gathered, usually when you meet with the media, you play that weekend. Don't believe this is the first time this has happened. So I wouldn't jump to say he ain't playing this weekend. I would probably say he probably is playing this weekend. He met with the media. He talked about the Lions today. He even said himself that a lot of guys are sore. He said even his kicker, Boswell, is sore. And he's like, that guy is never sore. That's just where we're at right now as a team because they played on Monday. So listed with no participation, but he met with the media. So I would bet that he's probably going to play this weekend. Here's a big one. This is Chase Claypool. Now, Chase Claypool has played up till this point. But yesterday, Mike Tomlin talked about Chase Claypool, saying that he was going to get an MRI on his toe. And apparently today, according to their projections, he did not participate. A little update on Chase Claypool. So as you can see from this report, it's apparently not season ending for Chase Claypool, which is great news. But it is reportedly week to week, and he could miss some time. So I would say it's starting to lean more and more towards he's unlikely to play this weekend, which means that they're going to be out very possibly some of their top receivers, but we'll get to see that man, James Washington, Deontay Johnson. They still got players, and we know Big Ben understands coverages really well. He even talked about it in the last drive against the Bears. He saw the coverage that they were in a lot of the game, and he was like, well, beaters for that, and it worked out when they moved the ball down the field. So they are possible, they could be missing some of their top receivers at the same time. A lot of their things have been underneath, and they do things after the catch, which is really dangerous. Some of their screen pick plays to open guys up. So that's what you really have to worry about in this game. Robert Spillane, I don't know exactly if I'm saying that right. This is a backup inside a linebacker, because on the inside, they have Devin Bush, the former Michigan Wolverine, and they have Joe Schobert, all right? He was a linebacker for the Cleveland Browns. So they have two bigger names in the inside linebacker position, so he's a backup, but he had full participation today anyway. Isaiah Buggs, the defensive tackle / nose tackle for this team, he also had full participation today. Apparently, he's dealing with hip alignment, you know, something there, but he had full participation projected today. Got over 40% of the snaps these last couple of weeks. Cam Hayward, all right, this is, of course, a big one. Full participation projected today with an ankle injury, but again, it's a lot of just soreness for these guys. Finally, Eric Ebron. This is another one to keep an eye on, though. Eric Ebron, as well as Chase Claypool, are the two guys that I would say keep an eye on throughout this week, because Eric Ebron has not played the last two games. Now, they have Zach Gentry, the former Michigan Wolverine, at tight end, and they also have, of course, Pat, who they drafted this season out of Penn State, who Ben Roethlisberger said he had no idea who he was when he drafted him. Possibly could be looking at a return this week. So that would be interesting if he returned against, of course, the Lions. So, yeah, sure there'll be a lot of memes out of that one, but I'm interested to see if that happens. That would be kind of cool to see Eric Ebron play against us. Well, updates here. First off, Chase Claypool, like I said, if he can't go, so they would be out Chase Claypool, and they would be down Juju Smith-Schuster, which means Deontay Johnson, James Washington would basically be their two top guys. Cloud has seen a bigger role there. He was mainly their returner. He's seen a bigger role, so if they miss those two guys, he kind of be looked at, I guess, as their three. Cody White, who is a first-year player for the Steelers this year, could be looking at a bigger role as well. And they do have receiver Anthony Miller on their practice squad, the former Bears Lions receiver. So keep an eye on that guy who could potentially be elevated from the practice squad for this week if Claypool can't play. So those are the names to keep an eye on with their side of the injury report, but today's just a weird day because of the kind of practice it was. However, for the Lions, who had a normal week, actually they had a more than normal week because they're not coming off a game day. So this should have been about as close to normal practice as you can get on a Wednesday, I gotta believe. They showed pictures of them wearing their practice stuff, you know, they're wearing their pads. So I believe this was a pretty normal day for the Lions practicing. And when you look at this injury report, hold up, I'm not showing it yet. Hold your breath. Woo! Hey, calm down. That's not me excited, that's you. Okay, let's take a look at this. Bam! Starting off at the very top. All right, I'm sorry, I just overlooked the entire injury reserve. Okay, so I updated this in the last video if you click that link, but Corey Ballentine and Iffy have returned to practice today. That's fantastic news on its own. I mean, I got that news this morning. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. They're returning to practice. Their 21-day period starts, as well as Tim Boyle. So those guys will return to practice. That doesn't mean they're playing this week. They still would have to be activated off of IR to the 53-man roster, but they're returning to practice, and that's awesome news, especially when I look at a guy like Melifanu, who I would love to see back at some point this season. With that claim that we made to go get receiver Josh Reynolds, if you're wondering how do we open up a roster spot, I believe it opened up by Jayshon Cornell. So this is some unfortunate news. Jayshon Cornell, the defensive lineman, and we're deep on the defensive line, but you can see on here he's listed with limited participation with an illness. Well, he was also placed at the same time on the NFI list, not for non-football injury, but for non-football illness. I personally don't know what that is. So non-football illness, it means it didn't happen within the practice facilities or a game. But I don't know if I've seen that before. I guess it may just be simply a way to open up a roster spot. We've seen Jamal Williams miss some time with an illness. We've seen guys miss practice with illness or maybe limited fashion and they come back. This is a weird one, all right? I don't completely understand the rules here. I'm assuming they're the same as the NFI list, and I know that he has to be medically checked out before that he can return. So I'm assuming that opens up a roster spot, which will be taken by Josh Reynolds because you have to have an open roster spot to claim a guy, right? Because he's going to be put on the 53-man roster. And again, I don't anticipate Josh Reynolds to play this weekend. By the time he gets here, it'll probably be Thursday, Friday, so don't expect him to play this weekend. But of course, after this weekend, yeah, he could play against Cleveland. I don't know how fast he can get acclimated, but he could be here pretty soon playing. But I'm assuming that's where the roster spot came into play. So as you can see on the bottom left, we kind of updated that there with the injury reserve on the bottom. Once they're taken off, I'll take their names off of here. There is a guy, though, that doesn't have his name on there anymore. Now he's got his name on the big right side. That's Taylor freaking Decker. I don't think I've ever been this excited to see Taylor Decker on the injury report. Like, never. Especially with that FP next to his name. You know what that stands for? If you don't know, it means full participation. My goodness. Hallelujah. Oh, my goodness. I'm tearing up inside. Taylor Decker has returned full participation. Oh, my goodness, with his finger injury. Now, he gave us a hit earlier this week. He said, Taylor Decker, he wants to play. He wants to get out there. He kind of has that look in his eye, and we're just going to kind of see where it's at. Well, I'm looking at this and seeing full participation, and I'm feeling real good. Now, tomorrow's going to be a big day. Does it stay with full? Does it go down? Does it improve? It can't improve. Tomorrow's a big day for Decker, but to just see that, I mean, screenshot it if you want. It's a good feeling. Oh my goodness. Oh my, we have not seen Taylor Decker once this season, and it looks like we may see Taylor Decker's debut this weekend. That is awesome news, man. That is fantastic. Full participation, and the first time we're seeing him on here is today because he is now on the 53-man roster. So get up, stand up. You should be excited for this one. I don't blame you. Taylor Decker may make his debut, and I'm going to stick to it. The game Decker debuts, we score at least 24 points. We'll see if it happens. Also, the Lions are pushing Penei Sewell back to the right tackle position. I think he's going to play this weekend. I'm getting a feeling now he's going to play this weekend, but I won't jinx it. But Sewell is moving back to that right tackle position when Decker returns. So, yeah, really not a lot of craziness there. Dan Campbell feels like he's gotten comfortable at both spots. Jared Goff said he's been a true professional. Like, he's not complaining. He's just getting out there and he's working. And we've seen a couple of good weeks from Sewell. Look, this is going to be the long-term outlook for this tackle position. That's what the Lions want it to be. So that's why they draft him. They draft him to be right tackle, and we may get our first glimpse of that this weekend. We'll see how it goes. Continuing down, Austin Bryant, the outside linebacker with a shoulder injury, listed as limited participation. Austin Bryant, I thought he played okay last week, considering that our defense gave up 44 points. He was a guy that stuck out to me a few times, that flashed a few times, and I was like, okay, I can see him working. All the way through this game, I can see him working. I know he was doing an interview recently, so I think he may be okay. As I said, Jayshon Cornell listed with limited participation, but now he's on the NFI. Continuing, our kicker, Austin Seibert. So apparently Boswell's a little sore, and I guess Austin Seibert is as well, listed with limited participation with a hip injury. Quick note for this. So you may be thinking, okay, what if he can't go? What do we do? Well, we do have Ryan Santoso also on the practice squad. But I know what you're thinking. Maybe. This is what I was thinking. Hold up. This guy's been elevated before. He's been elevated twice off the practice squad. Well, hold up. Do we have to sign him to the 53-man roster? I don't want to have 2 kickers on the 53-man roster. What does that mean for Seibert if he can't go? Well, calm down. Oh, this is me getting freaked out, not you. My bad. Basically, Ryan Santoso has been elevated because Seibert's been on COVID. And I guess that does not count. It doesn't count. So he could still possibly be elevated this week if we need him to without having to sign him onto the 53-man roster, from what I understand. But it's still limited participation. Let's hope that Seibert can go this weekend, even though he did miss a kick last week. I'm assuming there's still competition there, though, at very least. Trey Flowers, outside linebacker, is here with a knee injury listed as limited participation. He'll be just a guy that we'll have to monitor throughout this week, but I guess at least it's not listed as no participation. Jamal Williams. This one's probably the most unfortunate news we have. With all this good news, Jamal Williams had no participation today with a thigh injury, which kind of came up last week. Remember, he was inactive last week. So we saw Godwin. We saw a little bit of Jamar, who got his first touchdown. Godwin was a returner, and he had, 18 yards, I think, on 3 carries. I believe that's what it was. Or maybe that was receptions. Either way, we got to see both those guys last week. And if Jamal can't go, I always say this, I like our running back room. 2 weeks ago when he didn't play, he said, Jamal, if he can play, he will play. And I don't think Jamal needs a ton of practice. Trust, because I do believe we have a good running back room, and I'm excited because y'all know how I feel about Jamar. But you hate to see it because I think Jamal has been a stud. We had him in our awards last week. He got an award if you guys didn't see that last second dose. So Jamal Williams, no participation. You definitely hate to see that. We'll see how that progresses, but it's not good news considering the fact that he was inactive last week. And Dan Campbell said that was the one that he was concerned about. But he's always in good spirits, so you never really know with Jamal. Either way, continuing down, here's some good news to back it up. AJ Parker's back. Last week we started Will at slot. Quarterback room's getting actually healthy. It's crazy as that sounds. If he's coming back, Valentine's practicing, and now you see AJ Parker returning in full participation. Cornerback room's getting healthy, but I don't want to jinx it. Let me knock on wood for all of this. One thing I take away from this situation is more about the safety spot. Who do we see the reps? Do we see more Dean? Does Will slide back into his starting role with Tracy Walker? I would assume he does. And do we see some Jalen Elliott possibly now that he's on the 53? Do they mix him in regularly? And we finished it off at the bottom. I listed the players that were on the list last week, no longer on here. Swift is no longer in here. Kabinda's no longer on here. And neither is Hawkinson. That's good news, not bad news. That's good. They're no longer on the injury report, okay? So we'll keep an eye on how that goes. So, yeah, a couple of names keeping out here. Of course, AJ Parker, see how he progresses. Austin Seibert, always got to keep an eye on that kicker battle. And, of course, who's healthy this weekend. And the biggest one, to me, is Taylor Decker. Just see what happens with Taylor Decker. And, of course, Josh Reynolds. We're going to talk about him more tomorrow. But, again, you can check out that video. Now, a couple notes from listening to the pressers today. I want to start on the Steelers side. They asked Ben Roethlisberger, playing an 0-8 team. He's like, you probably played winless teams. How do you keep prepared for that? He said, look, we're not the best team right now either, okay? And everybody's an NFL team. Kind of gave you, like, the old school answer. I liked it. Felt like the O-line, struggled a little bit last week. He felt like they went against a good D-line, again, in Chicago. Hopefully our D-line can show up a little bit more this week, at least in terms of getting pressure, maybe get after Ben. Because if you can get after Ben, the guy's not mobile anymore. You got to be able to get after him, close the pocket, but hopefully without having to blitz, because he's a vet. He can pick up blitzes. So if you can get there with 4, that can change the game. There's one answer in here that I loved it, so I just wrote it down. It really doesn't, I don't know if it's like scheme or anything like that, but it's just funny. He said, look, I've told you, in RPO, I'm not the R, which basically means he's not the run in RPO, because the last 2 weeks he's ran. I saw it last week against the Bears. I did see that play, and I was like, oh my goodness. Like, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. It looked weird. It looked goofy. It looks like Jared Goff running a little bit, maybe even worse. And I was like, oh, that does not look right. And I don't think he picked the first either. It was kind of ugly. But he said, look, I'm not the R in RPO. So don't expect to see Ben running a lot. If you guys want a quick scheme update, Ben Roethlisberger probably won't be running a ton this weekend. Or maybe hopefully he should, because we're getting after him. I don't know. The Lions side, the kind of stuff that we've talked about already this week. Obviously the Lions trying to get some things involved to the outside. Don't expect to see Reynolds, so we should see Ebron to the outside. Even Goff said, I like him at slot, but he's very talented. They feel like he's a very special player that they can play him on the outside. So we discussed this all yesterday. If you want a really full breakdown of this, check out yesterday's video, and we kind of dive into all of this. You can tell Jared Goff is excited to have it back. He was like, man, it's incredible having Taylor Decker out there. We know Decker is more than just a player. It's also a leadership role. It's also setting the tone. It's also getting Jonah Jackson's partner in crime back. It's putting Sewell in his right position. There's so much good that can come from getting Taylor Decker back. We need that leader on the O-line to really help set the tone. And we know Dan Campbell, another note here, Dan Campbell getting more involved offensively. He's more around the quarterback and just the way they want to go forward with how they're trying to do things offensively. He did say that the vision for this team, his perfect vision is he wants to be known for defense. Like when you think of the Lions, you think defense and a team that can make explosive plays through the run and pass offensively. Hey, I think that's already the line. Not really. Tomorrow we're going to hear from the coordinator, so we'll have a lot more news. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything. I don't think that I did. Yeah, you guys can sleep easy tonight because Taylor Decker's full participation, and that should feel good. Plus, the Lions did something. Josh Reynolds is a Lion, and I kind of want to get his jersey. By the way, Reynolds, I like the 83 better. I'm just saying, like, I get it. The 11's cool, but I kind of like the 83. By the way, his NFL comparison is Marvin Jones. Let me know your thoughts, comments below. I'm going to leave you with that. Thank you, Brian, for watching. Check out the video I put earlier. Link is in the top of the comment section. It should be, and I'm out.